10,000 ways that won't work. Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Lama podcast. I'm Gunjan.
Rajiv.
Rajiv, I quoted this famous line by Thomas Alva Edison, where he said that I may or may not know how to do this, but I know what not to do. And that talks of a very scientific mindset. And that's what I want to talk about today, how failure leads to fame. If you've tried something once, you succeeded, that's a different story altogether. But when we talk about failures, when we talk about underdogs, those stories are very much relatable. Yeah, how social media impacts and how the family or friends, their support impacts, but it's the failure that leads to something that you have invented and not one time success. And then, as you rightly said once, that that overnight success took 10 years of hard
10
work.
years, 15 years apart.
15 years of hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a topic that I want to ponder
So,
today, that how
I don't know whether fame and success, I think they are correlated. I don't think that anybody will talk about, or any unsuccessful person, would be famous. Only successful people, are famous. That's, I think, to start with that. So, when I'm responding, I will talk about both fame and success, like interoperatively. Now, coming back to Mr. Edison, I'm not a big fan. I respect his entrepreneurship. So, if you look at, there's another good saying that the history is written by the victors, not by the victims.
that is true.
And so, if people can do some research on Thomas Edison, brilliant entrepreneur. But one of the things he did was he was very good at, he would hire the best of the scientists. And his only condition was that on every patent, his name would be there as, the co-owner of the patent. So like Nikola Tesla and all that, they worked for him. But we are not going to, that's one thing. But he was, yes, the quotation he made was very right in terms of, if it is your perspective on how you look at failure. You hit a roadblock, and then what do you do after that? Now, do you keep trying, like, keep butting your head against it, or do you pivot, or do you give up? Right? Three choices. So people who pivot are the ones who become very famous because they discover something brand new, some good innovation or something totally new. So that, but the thing is, the problem happens when you are meeting the failure. What is your mindset at that time? That makes a difference.
It also depends on the support system that you have and the kind of responsibilities
But
that you have on your shoulder.
why would people who actually are famous, who become very successful, they don't care about support system. They are passionate about something they want to do. Yes, I agree that
But you
support
have those
system.
phases in life, Rajiv. It's not that you'll be always motivated. There will be ups and
No,
downs. There will
correct.
be times when you are like, jala do is dunya ko, phook dalo is dunya ko. There will be times
Yeah,
that you don't want to do anything.
correct. Correct.
And
That is true.
that's the time when you really need to pause, just reflect, and reinvent yourself. Life does not goes in a straight graph or upward graphs. There
Yes,
will be a
that is
downfall.
true. That is true. The line, life is sine curve. If it is flat, you're already dead. So it's a very simple measure of how you want to measure your life. If you do not know how the time flies by, what that means is that you are in a monotonous rut because your mind is not registering any difference between one day from one day to the other. So you're already dead. You're living a flat line. So what happens is that when people, let's say today you lose your job. right? It's a very big failure, considered as a big failure within the social this thing and all that, because like, how can you lose your job, kind of
After
thing.
so much of experience and
Whatever,
such diverse
irrespective.
yeah. I mean,
So the question becomes then how do you react to it? Do you start sulking and do you give up on life? Then you will not be famous. You will go in, you will never, nobody will even know, who Rajiv was or who Kunjan was or anybody else, right? The people who take the failure and then pivot or do something, go after something that they were very passionate about. Example I can give you is if you can Google the name of the person who started Snapchat in India. Now, consider this, very interesting story. This actually, I think, will be very relevant here. So this guy came to the US to do his master's and all, but his H-1B visa got rejected. Now, think, he had to go back. But then he had this idea that he was very passionate about, and he created Snapchat, which is like, look at, now if he would have gotten his H-1B, what would he have been doing? He
corporate
most
corporate
likely,
Mazdoori. Yeah.
yeah. So he would have been living a flat life. Yes, he may have made some, millions because he may have worked with the, good companies like Google or whatever, but he would, like the economic slavery we talk about. But he pivoted, now that is a success, that is a failure that led to fame and success. There are also cases where people get rejected on H-1B, they go back home and then they go under depression. There are also cases that I see up here, people on H-1B, sticking here for 99 years in the very wild hope that they will get a green card, or their children may get a green card. But that I think is a failure. That is a failure to think beyond a very minuscule aspect of life. So it depends. You see, this is where I think it becomes complicated because something that is a failure to me may be a success to somebody else. What is
Every
success
person
to
has
me
a
may
different,
be nothing for somebody else. So
yes, and
this
every
is all
person has
really
a
subjective.
different matrix, and it also depends on like your risk appetite. And I very vividly remember this quote from Ajay Jadeja. One press reporter asked him a question, and he said there are two types of captains: good captain and a bad captain. Good captain will take a risk and he'll succeed. Bad type captain will take a risk and he that will lead to failure. So
Yeah,
it also depends that how much you're calculating the risk, how much risk you're taking in. There are a lot of factors involved
that
in it,
is
and you
that
have
that
to
is true.
demonstrate
That is
a
true.
lot of trust in other people as well. You cannot grow in life if you do not have trust in other people. You have to trust yourself and you have to trust other person as well.
Yeah. So you see, the failure will teach you few things. One is what is your level of competence, right? That is one. Second, you talk about a risk appetite, and the other thing I think is resilience. So, so let's say that in a normal corporate life, you reach a plateau. Beyond that, if you take anything more complex than that, you will fail. So that is what Peter Drucker said, that every person rises to the level of incompetence. Beyond a certain level, you will become incompetent unless you have the capacity to grow. So you will keep growing till you reach that level. And each of us has a different level. Then the second thing is resilience in terms of that if you fail, and this is what we talk about, do you pivot to fame and success? Or do you become the victim of gravity and you just become nothing more than dust? So it is, I think it is a complex situation. The only thing would be, will how will you react in the situation of a failure? I think that is the thing that each of us should ponder upon, that if I come across a failure in whatever endeavor I am doing, what will be my next step? Even if you want to sulk and you want to like blame the world for everything, define a timeline. I write that in my introduction of my book also, that I think conversations or something, that book, that being lucky is a perspective. But if you think you're unlucky and you want to sulk, then make it very short. Get over it as soon as you can.
Uh, Rajiv, it's very contradictory that it's coming from you. Uh, I have read all your blogs, almost everything that you've written. Uh, you say go with the flow.
Yeah.
Then you say give yourself a timeline. Now, when you're giving yourself a timeline, aren't you putting yourself under pressure?
Life is paradoxes. No, it is not paradoxal. See, go with the flow does not mean that you 100% surrender and just, don't do anything.
That's where
Go
I
with
say
the
I detest
flow.
the idea of blind following.
So the go with the flow means that you trust that life is taking you somewhere, but you still have to act, right? So if life lets you give you
Efforts.
a cake, you still have to make the effort to eat it. You cannot say, I'm going with the flow, the cake will automatically come into my mouth and it will be digested and I will not lose weight or I will not gain weight,
Gain weight,
right?
yeah.
so 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 go with the flow means that you trust your life to take you where it wants to take you. That's the gist of it. But that does not mean that there's another one that I wrote, do you want to be a twig or a or a rock? So, but yes, it is, life is paradoxical. Life is a very interesting thing, that everything that uh, I'm trying to remember that quotation or a line I read somewhere, that the path to heaven leads through hell and the path to hell leads through heaven. So, and it was very striking, and we talked about the subject. So think about the path to hell, like gaining weight and being ill, is through eating very delicious and very unhealthy food, but very tasty. So while
Yeah.
you're eating and while you're enjoying the food, the path is through heaven, but it will lead to hell. If you want to stay fit and you want to be, disease, disease free or whatever you want to say, right? That is heaven, but the path is through hell. You will have to make sure you don't eat rubbish, you don't eat junk food, so so it is, it is paradoxical. That is exactly the fun of life.
Well, yes, I'll just bring
Come back
everything
to
in our conversation to the failure part. And one thing that really hits me, if it's a rich kid and he has scored 99%, really does not matter. If that kid is of a rickshaw puller or a auto driver or people who are really living in a very
yeah, marginal
miserable or
society, yes.
underprivileged kids, if they score something like 99%, media will be after their life that, oh
Yeah,
my God, this kid did this. Why can't you do this? And another theory is that this rich kid has OTT platforms, internet, bike, he has a lot of distractions. So if he scores that kind of marks, he's the one who should be getting media attention rather than the kid who has nothing to do in life, just study. And that kid is getting all the attention. But we are more drawn towards underdogs who
yes,
perform really well.
yes. Because we assume that the people who have it, their life is
Zindagi gulzar
laid
hai.
out in front. Yes, yes, exactly. That they don't have to struggle. They don't have to. Everything will come to them without their own
Yeah.
effort. The person will have 10 tutors, and will and then there'll be, oh, the person would have bought the exam papers or through this thing, or has the best of the tools for education. yes, they do play a role. The struggle that underprivileged kid would have to score is highlighted by the fact that the parent may not be able to afford all the luxuries and all the um, the tools to score that high, to send the child to the good school and compete in that kind of environment, right? So it is. I think there's truth on both sides. Yes, there is very big discipline on the rich kid side, not to be distracted by like social media, all the you know things that are distractions that he or she may have. While on the other hand, the underprivileged child may not have distraction, but also does not have the tools. Right. So yes, I think this is where I keep saying that and this is where I would say the society defines the yardstick of success, fame, failure, and everything. If we remove that word failure, right, what would happen? If we remove the word failure and say, oh, I learned this.
Be less dejected is what I feel.
Yeah,
It's not the
that's
word,
no
but it's that
storytelling. But there
emotion.
is
Yeah.
no storytelling. There'll be no the society will not be able to, do you think that society will say, oh yeah, he learned five more things?
Or he learned how not to do this. Thousand ways not to do
Yeah,
this.
so
But
yeah,
there's
go ahead.
this term coined by a professor, Sim Sitkin from Duke University, intelligent failures,
Hmm.
where you take that risk just by analyzing everything, that even if I don't succeed or I don't achieve what I wanted to achieve, but
Hmm.
I will learn these things. It can be human
Yes.
psychology, it can be business, it can be 10 other
I agree.
variables. But there is and I wish he would have, coined some other term and just eliminate the word failure from the life altogether. But
Yeah,
sometimes
but if you eliminate the word failure, then the word success has no meaning.
that is also true.
So the word success will also disappear. It will also, so I don't think that we need to get hung up on the words that we use. If not this, then the people will start having connotation on the word learnings. See, there's a innate human tendency to compare, to judge what is failure, what is success, what is fame, what is what they call as um, defame, right? So these are terms that we have created to define or construct a social reality that we live in.
Yes, even if you talk about a cricket match, no matter how entertaining it is, it's no more a match, it's more of an entertainment
And
source of
compet
entertainment for, yeah,
commercial competition.
uh, right, commercial competition. And I have a fundamental problem with this game, which we can discuss later. But countries do not understand entertainment part of it. They know either their country won or they have lost the match. They do not understand the spirit at all, or what the person is going through. Nothing.
Yeah,
या
because the
तुम
thing
जीत
is,
के आए हो या तुम हार के आए हो.
yeah,
And
because no, that is true. But the thing is, because there will be a winner. If two teams are playing, one will be declared winner. You cannot say both won. That would be a very stupid thing to say. If there are 10 kids in a class, there will be only one person who would be first. You cannot say that, oh, everybody will be first. That's the wokeism and the stupidest, culture that we can bring. So I don't think that failure, that I think change that we need to make is not about equating failure and success, but talking about how to pivot from failure, how to, what you call as fail fast and recover fast. How to bring that resilience in each of us, that we should not look at failure as something that is a doomsday scenario, but more of something that we can learn from and do something different or better or whatever, right? So that, I think that's the main thing. It is not about the failure per se. I would not remove failure, because that's a, think about that. Let's say you're walking down the street and there's a rock, and and your foot hits the rock. That's a failure. You trip and you fall down. Now you can sit there crying. You can blame the earth. You can blame the rock.
This thing to do.
Or you can say, hey, when I'm walking down the street, I better pay attention. So it depends. I think that's where the difference is, that how you perceive failure will tell you whether you will be successful in your next venture, or will you continue failing in all the ventures.
There's one more thing, the psychology that plays, but success story will only hold that value only if you'll have failures. You
Yes.
tried something, you succeed, हाँ ठीक है, luck
Yeah.
काम कर गया. That's the general
exactly.
thing, right?
Yes.
But if you failed and you've succeeded,
Yes.
the taste of that success
Rags
is
to riches,
very.
rags to riches story, uh, rag to riches story will sell more copies than a rich to super rich story.
This is, I was in the US and we were talking about colleges and all, talking about that how being successful or always scoring, being on the top of the class is very addictive. We got to know this, that if in your essay or if while interview, you do not present a failure story, chances become very minuscule that you'll get admission in that university. Reason being, as you said, at one point of time, each one will become incompetent. When you take best of brains, then you are average there. If you do not have a failure story and what you learned and what was your strategy to come out of it, there are chances you'll not get accepted in that university. And it's not one university. The majority of universities in US, they see that what failure stories you have written and what you have highlighted there. It's not about success. It's about the journey. Legendary example, Sushmita Sen and Aishwarya Rai, final round. And Sushmita, he tripped and she kept on walking. That was it was not
how you recover from failure. Yes.
Yeah,
how you
it's
recover
not
from
about
a
how you
setback.
tripped, but it's just about how you recovered from that.
Yeah.
And rest is history. So yes, it's not the success story which gets all the attention. It's the failure stories
Yes,
attached to that.
because see, psychologically, it gives us hope.
That is also true.
When I read, let's say if I read a rich to a super rich story, that a person, a son or a daughter who took over the family business, and from multi-million dollars, she or he raised it to multi-billion dollars. And say, okay, no, that's fine. Because we do not that does not give me a hope, because I am stuck at a menial job that is paying $100,000. Not a menial, but still pretty good. But now, if there's a story I read where somebody from an underprivileged background with no means started from zero and even made it to $100 million, company, which was the starting point for the rich kid. The second story will give me a lot of hope that, hey, even I may be able to do something. Whether I do anything or not, it's totally up to me. But it gives a glimmer of hope.
Yeah,
and that gives me a fake, like the proxy living we talked about, almost a year ago. So that's where we start doing proxy living.
We all have ideas, Rajiv. It's just that who implements it.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
nothing
Yeah.
like I'm not Steve Jobs. I cannot invent something like what he has done. There are a lot of ideas. I just have to pick one and implement it and market it in a manner.
Yes.
And then, as our great Naval Ravikant said, that more than marijuana, it's the monthly salary which is addictive. It gets
Yes.
credited, and you are just not ready to give on your ideas just
Yeah.
because
Yes.
something, yes,
That
something is
goes
taken
back
care
to
of.
what we are talking about, right? Because you have not failed, the failure would be when you lose a job,
That will be the time.
that the salary doesn't, stops coming uh, for whatever reason. So yes, that is actually a very interesting conundrum that we have to face, whether you take the short route or the long route.
Closing lines from your side, Rajiv.
So I I wrote, I think in one of the blogs, uh, and let me remember it. Yeah. So this is a reminder to myself, right? Not you. तुम उस वृक्ष की तरह हो जो नदी के प्रवाह में धरती को जकड़े बैठा है, इस डर के मारे कि डूब ना जाऊं कहीं.
That's fear of failure. Totally.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for listening. Do visit our website, thelielama.com, THELIELLA.com. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you want to come on our podcast. We'd be more than happy to host you. Keep listening.
Thank you.